ability of local PBOs is actually
entrenched.
Yes.
Yeah, so Eric, if I may just pick up from where John has left. First and foremost, that is a very wrong assumption that, we benefit from donors or this or that, because the point we have to make first and foremost is PBOs, just like government, is funded by donors. And the reason why this act is very important, because it creates, it enhances transparency. Remember, all our returns are going to be filed and they will be accessible to any Kenyan who would want to access this record. So the assertion that, we are working for and on behalf of foreign agents, falls flat on its foot. Secondly, when you look at most of the public interest litigation cases that PBOs have instituted, 99.9% of these cases have been for and on behalf of either marginalized communities or the citizens of Kenya. When you look at the fundamental decision, the landmark decision that we got in 2017 that annulled an election, that was partly supported by PBOs. When you look at some of the cases that we've taken to regional courts on behalf of the Onderois community and the Ogeeks, that was for and on behalf of people who are marginalized. So the assertion that we work for and on behalf of foreign agencies just does not hold water. But more importantly, when you look at, even before the coming into even before today or even before last Friday, when the president said that the PBO Act will be, commenced by the CS today or operationalized today, you realize in as much as we were moving away from the NGO Board Act, there were stringent provisions that still required us to comply. So, if PBOs were, working for foreign agents, then maybe PBOs would actually be running the country, right? You would have actually PBOs constituting government, this and that, but that is not the case. What we actually do is for and on behalf of, many marginalized communities. We speak for the voice, for those who are voiceless in society, and we continue to keep government in check. Basically, ours is to hold the government to account.
Okay.
Yes.
But I'm sure you cannot argue
Yes.
against the point that made many times that when an external donor
Yes.
is coming and putting money into an NGO for a certain project, whether it's on governance, whether it's on accountability, whether it's on development of a local community, it has a set agenda. So they come up with a fund and they say, we want to support, this kind of programs in Africa, and in Kenya we're going in this route, and we are asking for people to actually send their proposals on how they can implement this particular agenda. So you're then funded to implement somebody else's agenda.
Yes.
Now, there's no question whether that funder went to the community to ask whether that is a priority area.
I think what many people don't appreciate, Eric, is that before actually donors send out a call for a proposal, they always do you study the local context, right? So you don't just wake up as a donor and say, hey, I'm dropping money here, I want you guys to call and do ABC. So when you look at, grant making and, how these guys go about it, it's a meticulous process that actually takes time. The only distinction is that when you look at PBOs, so they're asked the PBOs, and then they're the grant makers who actually go through a meticulous process in which, these calls are made. And before these calls actually set up, many donors actually try to study the local context, and there's actually consultations in certain instances with members of the communities or even with PBOs before you actually, respond to these calls. You don't just, because if you use that assumption that you're saying, then it would more or less block, respond to this, respond to that, and in that way you could actually respond to a call that may actually be difficult to implement in the current context. So when you look at, even if you were to do a cursory look of, the calls or proposals that have been done over the last couple of years, the majority of these calls respond to local context, and that in hindsight just shows you that there is some background work done to understand the local context.
Yeah, but also, Eric, I think